Imagine waking up feeling like you've aged 10 years overnight. Your body feels like it's filled with wet sand. You drag yourself to the mirror and there's fog behind your eyes, heaviness in your chest that wasn't there in your 20s. The weights that used to fly up now feel bolted to the floor. And that fire, that raw drive you used to feel in your career, your relationships, your confidence as a man, it's dim to barely a flicker. You tell yourself it's stress. Maybe age. Maybe bad genetics. But here's what nobody's telling you. It's none of those things. It's a specific white powder you're consuming every single day, multiple times a day, without a second thought. And it's chemically castrating you from the inside out. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sugar? Really? But this goes so much deeper than your waistline. While everyone's panicking about microplastics and hormone disruptors in water bottles, you're voluntarily ingesting a substance that systematically shuts down your body's testosterone factories. This isn't fringe theory. This is documented, peer-reviewed science the food industry would rather you never learned about. Here's the part that should terrify you. You could be lean. You could have visible abs. You could look perfectly healthy in the mirror. And yet, underneath that surface, you could have the hormonal profile of an 80-year-old man. This isn't just about health metrics on paper. This is about who you are at your core. Your ability to build muscle, to think clearly, to feel motivated, to perform when it matters most, all of it is downstream from this one master hormone. And sugar is systematically destroying it. But here's the twist that scares scientists the most. It's not just that sugar lowers your testosterone levels. The real horror is what it turns that testosterone into. Your body takes the very hormone that makes you a man and converts it into its opposite. And it's happening right now, in your belly, in your brain, and in your testicles simultaneously. Let's rewind to something you've experienced 1,000 times. You're at your desk at 2 in the afternoon. You had a sandwich with a soda for lunch, maybe a candy bar. For 20 minutes, you felt pretty good. That little dopamine rush. But now, an hour later, you feel like someone pulled the plug on your brain. Your eyelids are heavy. Your thoughts are moving through molasses. There's this gravitational pull toward another hit of sugar, another coffee, anything to climb out of this hole. You've felt this a million times. But what's actually happening in your bloodstream during that crash is a direct chemical war on your masculinity. The moment sugar hits your tongue, your pancreas starts pumping out insulin like a fire hose. Now, most people think of insulin as just the blood sugar cop. But insulin is a hormonal bully. And it has a very specific relationship with testosterone that researchers call antagonistic. Think of it like a seesaw. The body constantly seeks balance. When insulin shoots up violently on one side, testosterone has to come crashing down on the other to maintain equilibrium. They generally can't both occupy the peak at the same time. This isn't speculation. This is measurable, repeatable biology. Researchers at Massachusetts General Hospital documented something shocking. After a massive glucose spike, the kind you get from a soda or pastry, testosterone levels can plummet by up to 25% within just 2 hours. And this happens whether you're a healthy 20-year-old or a pre-diabetic 50-year-old. The drop is immediate. It's brutal. And if you're doing this every single day, multiple times a day, you're subjecting your hormonal system to a roller coaster it was never designed to handle. But here's where it gets even worse. Even if your testosterone levels eventually recover from that crash, there's another molecule quietly sabotaging you. It's called SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. Think of SHBG as the delivery truck system for testosterone. When you chronically spike insulin with sugar, your liver pumps out more and more SHBG. These trucks bind up your testosterone so tightly that it can't get delivered. It's trapped in transit, completely useless. So even if your total testosterone looks okay on a blood test, your free testosterone, the stuff that actually does the work, is locked away in a chemical prison. And let's talk about what it feels like to try to quit. If you've ever attempted to cut sugar cold turkey, you know it feels like absolute death for the first 72 hours. The headaches. The irritability. The obsessive thoughts about food. You might think you're just weak-willed, that you lack discipline. But that's not what's happening. Your brain has been chemically hijacked. Sugar lights up the same dopamine pathways as cocaine and nicotine. When you rip it away, your brain goes into withdrawal, screaming for the hit it's been conditioned to expect. That craving isn't a personality flaw. It's proof of chemical dependency. But that immediate crash is just a warning shot. If you do this every day, for months, for years, the biology fundamentally changes. You stop just suppressing testosterone, and you start actively destroying it. When you eat sugar occasionally, your body can handle it. But modern life isn't occasional. It's relentless. The average man now consumes his body weight in sugar every single year. And when you bombard your cells with glucose day after day, something sinister happens. Your cells stop listening. It's called insulin resistance, and it's like jamming the lock on every door in your house. Insulin is banging on the door, screaming to be let in, but the cells have heard this alarm so many times they've stopped responding. So your pancreas pumps out even more insulin, thinking volume will solve the problem. And now you're walking around with chronically elevated insulin levels, even when you haven't eaten. This is the environment where testosterone goes to die. But the real devastation comes down to one word: aromatization. If you've never heard this term, pay very close attention, because this is the missing piece that explains why you've been losing your masculine edge no matter how hard you train. Inside your body, specifically in your fat tissue, there's an enzyme called aromatase. And this enzyme has one job. It takes testosterone molecules, the very hormone that builds your muscle, sharpens your mind, and fuels your drive, and it chemically converts them into estrogen. Yes, the female hormone. Here's the brutal chain of events. Sugar spikes your insulin. Chronic high insulin leads to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance makes your body store fat around your organs, creating visceral fat. This isn't the soft fat under your skin. This is the dense, inflammatory fat wrapped around your liver, your intestines, your heart. And this visceral fat is absolutely packed with aromatase enzyme. So the fat cells aren't just sitting there. They're enemy factories, working around the clock to steal your testosterone and convert it into estrogen. The more sugar you eat to get energy, the more you feed the factory that's chemically feminizing you from the inside out. This is why guys develop man boobs, why they retain water around their face and midsection, why they become emotionally unstable and moody. It's not a moral failing. It's not laziness. It's biochemistry. You've turned your own body into a testosterone crematorium and an estrogen manufacturing plant at the same time. Think about it. That stubborn tire around your waist that refuses to budge even when you're running 5 miles a day and eating chicken breast for every meal? That's not just excess calories. That's hormonal armor. Your body is protecting that fat because it's hormonally active tissue now, and until you fix the root cause, your body will fight you tooth and nail to keep it there. But it gets even darker. Chronic elevated blood sugar creates oxidative stress. Imagine rust forming on metal when it's exposed to moisture and oxygen. That's essentially what's happening to your cells when they're constantly bathed in excess glucose. And the cells most vulnerable to this oxidative damage? The Leydig cells in your testicles. These are the factories, the actual production centers where testosterone is synthesized. High blood sugar is literally rusting out the machinery that makes you a man. You're not just temporarily suppressing testosterone production. You're causing structural damage that becomes harder and harder to reverse the longer you wait. But here's the thing about the human body. It's incredibly resilient. It wants to heal. The moment you cut the supply line, the moment you stop feeding the inflammatory cycle, something almost magical happens to your chemistry. About 2 weeks after you completely eliminate sugar, something happens that most men aren't prepared for. It's not just that the scale starts moving. What's happening underneath is a complete neural reboot. Your brain, which has been operating in a fog of inflammation and blood sugar chaos for years, suddenly starts firing on all cylinders again. You wake up one morning and realize you didn't hit snooze 4 times. You sit down to work and 2 hours pass without you reaching for your phone. That constant mental static just evaporates. And this isn't motivational nonsense. This is testosterone doing what it's supposed to do in your brain. See, testosterone is a neurosteroid. It directly affects dopamine receptor density in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, decision-making, and impulse control. When your testosterone normalizes after years of sugar-induced suppression, you don't just feel more energetic. You feel more mentally dominant. That ambition you thought you lost in your 20s? That hunger to build something, to compete, to win? It comes roaring back because the chemical substrate for drive has been restored. But there's another change that catches guys completely off guard. Within 3 to 4 weeks, your face changes. That puffy, water-retained look starts to deflate. Your jawline re-emerges from the inflammation. Your skin clears up. People start asking if you've been working out more, if you've lost weight, even if the scale has barely moved. What they're seeing is lowered systemic inflammation and normalized fluid balance. You look sharper, more defined, more alive. Now, here's where I need to address the elephant in the room. You're thinking, wait, don't I need carbs for energy? Don't I need sugar to fuel my workouts and build muscle? This is the myth that keeps so many men trapped. Your body has two primary fuel sources, glucose and fat. For your entire life, you've been running on glucose because you've been feeding your body a constant stream of it. When you cut out sugar and lower your carbohydrate intake significantly, your body doesn't collapse. It adapts. It's called metabolic flexibility. Within 2 to 3 weeks, your cells start upregulating fat-burning enzymes. Your mitochondria become more efficient at converting stored body fat into usable energy. And here's the kicker. Fat is a cleaner, longer-lasting fuel source than glucose. When you burn fat for energy, you don't get the spikes and crashes. You get stable, sustained power for hours. And this process spares muscle protein. Your body isn't desperately breaking down muscle tissue for glucose because it has an abundant alternative fuel source. But wait, there's more. High insulin doesn't just suppress testosterone. It also blocks growth hormone. Growth hormone is the other critical anabolic hormone that repairs tissue, builds muscle, and burns fat while you sleep. Every time you spike your insulin with sugar, you're essentially putting a lock on your growth hormone release. But when you stabilize your blood sugar and keep insulin low, especially overnight, you unlock natural growth hormone pulses. Studies have shown that fasting and low-carb states can increase growth hormone secretion by up to 2,000%. You're literally optimizing your body's natural anabolic environment without injecting a single thing. So you're not sacrificing performance by cutting sugar. You're unlocking it. You're not losing muscle. You're revealing it as the inflammation melts away. You're not getting weaker. You're becoming metabolically anti-fragile. This is the body you were supposed to have all along. Let's step into a time machine and look at 2 versions of you a decade from now. Version A, the one who kept riding the sugar roller coaster, wakes up at 55 feeling 70. His doctor has him on 3 medications. One for blood pressure, one for cholesterol, and metformin because he's teetering on full-blown type 2 diabetes. His energy is so low that climbing stairs winds him. His muscle mass has withered because his testosterone has been in the gutter for so long that his body's in a catabolic state. He's dependent. Dependent on pills, on his doctor's permission to live his life. He looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize the man staring back. Now let's look at version B, same chronological age, but his biological age is 15 years younger. He wakes up without an alarm because his sleep is deep. He's maintained most of the muscle mass he had in his 30s because his testosterone never crashed. His mind is sharp. He's still building things, still chasing goals. When he goes to the doctor for a checkup, the doctor asks what he's doing because his blood work looks like someone decades younger. And this didn't require a miracle drug. It required one conscious decision made 10 years earlier to stop poisoning himself with sugar. The difference between these 2 paths isn't luck. It's not genetics. It's the cumulative effect of thousands of small choices compounded over time. High testosterone isn't just a number on a lab report. It's the single most reliable biomarker of youth. It's what separates the men who age gracefully from the ones who wither into dependency and decline. And you get to choose which path you're on right now, today. Here's the philosophical shift I need you to make. Stop thinking about cutting sugar as deprivation. You're not losing anything of value. You're breaking the chains of a chemical addiction that's been making you weak, foggy, and soft. You're liberating yourself from a substance that's been hijacking your dopamine, suppressing your hormones, and stealing your future one bite at a time. Let me give you a one-liner to burn into your brain. Sugar gives you a moment of pleasure, but it steals your lifetime of power. The trade isn't worth it. And the best part? Once you've been off it for a month, you don't even miss it. The cravings vanish. Your taste buds recalibrate. Things that used to taste bland suddenly explode with flavor because your dopamine system isn't fried anymore. So here's what I need you to do right now. If you're ready to reclaim your edge, if you're ready to take back control, hit that like button. Not for me, but to tell the algorithm that men's health actually matters. Then subscribe, because this is just the beginning. We're building a complete system for optimizing your hormones, your metabolism, and your mind without drugs or gimmicks. And send this video to a gym buddy, especially the one who's confused about why he can't lose that last bit of belly fat. He needs to see this. Now that you know what to remove, you need to know what to add. There are specific foods, especially certain fatty foods, that can skyrocket your testosterone production naturally, and most guys are avoiding them because of outdated nutritional dogma. To stay with us, click the video on screen right now. You've identified the enemy. Now let's build the arsenal.